Hi, this is Miriam Wortel, author of the book Lessons in Law of Attraction, which is available on Amazon. And today I want to talk to you about this whole concept of living in the end, as well as how that ties in with visualization and just trying to feel like you already have what it is that you want before you have it. So one of the things that I tell people is that visualization is one of many tools to help familiarize yourself with a positive feeling. The whole goal is to get yourself into a positive feeling state. The thing is, though, you can't get yourself truly to a positive feeling state. I don't mean just a good mood, but truly a positive feeling state until you have really dispelled the beliefs that keep you in a negative state. Okay? So in other words, there were so many times like on my journey, like I was manifesting something and I was thinking like, why didn't this manifest? I was so happy. I was thinking so positively. Why has this not come through for me? I'm feeling happy. I'm in the vibration of happiness, but really my attention has been on the lack and I didn't believe it was going to come to me. So me just being happy wasn't going to fix that, right? And sometimes we really do have to do a little bit of dirty work and a little bit of digging. I say a little bit because there is such thing as too much digging. And we have to look at what is, what are our beliefs around a certain topic? What are the beliefs that I want to have, right? And then we have an idea of how to clear that. So for me, when I realized, I was like, oh, that was silly that I was being maybe a little naive. And this was a long time ago, before I really understood the stuff as well as I do now. Then I realized I couldn't just fake my way into being positive or even just change my mood. I really had to say, okay, like, what am I really scared of? Why do I fear that whatever I want isn't going to come to me naturally? Because, the way I've shared it, I think I shared something like this in my book. It's like, if you knew you had a check in the mail coming to you for like thousands of dollars and your bank account was like, near empty, and suddenly a check, and you knew that check was coming to you, would you be like freaking out about your bank account, or would you be like, okay, it's coming. I'm feeling okay now. You either feel excited or at least just you feel okay. You feel calm because you're like, okay, literally, that check is in the mail on the way to you. And that's really the secret to living in the end. The whole concept with living in the end, and living in the end is a term that is associated, like I've come across a lot of YouTube videos talking about the teachings of Neville Goddard. I've never read his books, but I've come across many, many, many videos of his teaching. And really all that is talking about the feeling state of already having what you want. So you don't have to be familiar with him to understand what I'm saying. It's just the idea of feeling like you have something before you have it. That is what I mean by living in the end. And so a person, like a lot of people, they try to sort of like, it's kind of like when you're a kid, you're like, play house, except when people are kids, they do a better job of playing house, because at least they're really in that imaginative state. They're really in that feeling state. Like when you see kids play house, like they're in it, right? When adults play house, they kind of fail at it, right? Because we don't really believe that we're playing house. You know what I'm saying? We don't really believe we're in that state of whatever else. So that's why I tell people, like, use it as a guide to get yourself to feeling good, but understand why you don't naturally feel good. So you don't have to fake it. I had posted something to my Instagram about that the key is not so much to feeling positive. It's really the key to positive manifestation is feeling neutral or better. I bring up this concept of being neutral because it's a lot less intimidating than being positive. And there's a lot of people who really, they fake positivity. They literally say they're thinking positive. And like, you can tell from their tone of voice, their posture, how they talk about whatever that subject is. They're not really positive on the subject. Like, if you say, I'm thinking positively, money is going to come, and you have that feeling of like your stomach feeling tight, you're not really thinking positive. And by the way, if you're thinking positively, if you're feeling positively, if you actually feel at ease and you have a smile on your face and you're feeling so any sense of relief, ease, anything like that, that's how you know that you're actually thinking positively towards something, is when you don't feel that sense of distress or lack or anxiety or nervousness. And if you feel negative emotions, that's totally okay. Okay, so many people, they cover over their emotions, and it drives me nuts, because that's probably one of the worst things you can do. If you have a negative emotion, acknowledge it. It's there to tell you something. It's there to help you uncover a belief that you have or something that you need to resolve. You don't have to do too much digging work. As I said, that was a lesson that I learned. I have spent way too much time, over the past couple years, just doing too much digging, because that can keep you focused on a negative vibration. But if, as something comes up, you just look at it and you just say, okay, that's interesting. I'm noticing that every time I think about this topic, I feel my muscles tense up. Let me ask myself why. And you spend just a little bit of time on it, and then you acknowledge it. And just in acknowledging that, you can actually help release that energy. So think about the difference in doing that versus trying to just be positive all the time and say, oh, I'm thinking, oh, money's coming, money's coming, money's coming, money's coming. I'm just bringing money up because that's a lot of people, what they're interested in, right? I mean, same applies to, relationships and health and all these other topics. But just to be consistent here, this is the example that I'm giving. The goal is to feel a sense of calm and a sense of peace. And if you ever don't feel like that towards a subject, all that means is that there's energy to clear there. And I said, don't beat yourself up if you have it. And that's why I say you have to just aim for neutral or better. Living in the end, in other words, living as if you have it, is simply not putting out the vibration, the energy of lack, because the universe is like a boomerang. So if we're constantly talking about the lack of money that we have, or how we haven't met the person we want to be with, or if we're in a relationship, how it's not going the way that we want, or if our health status isn't the desired state, that's going to boomerang, okay? And it's not that we have to lie to ourselves. We do want to change our story, right? But it's more just acknowledging of like, hey, this is coming around because I'm thinking about it. This is coming around because I've been holding negative emotions. And when you acknowledge that anything that you're experiencing is just coming from negative emotions, which you can clear, it's suddenly not so scary and so intimidating. And that's why I say aim for neutral or better. Living in the end is simply living with a lack of worry, because if you had what you wanted, you wouldn't be worried about it. It's that simple. If you're already in a neutral or better state, then if you want to add in visualization, or certain affirmations, that can help expedite it. And if you're not in that state, you can still utilize those tools to help you identify more positive emotions. But my point is, don't lie to yourself by living in the end. Just acknowledge and say, hey, I feel certain emotion towards things. It's okay if I don't feel positively. There are times that I tell people to just say out loud, and even yell if I have to say that something stinks or is horrible or whatever, because sometimes the way to be positive is by letting out that negative energy. Like, I've been through a lot of stinky things in my life, and I know I feel better once I let it out. I give myself a few minutes, just let it out, and then I feel better. It's that suppression of emotion is often why we don't feel good. Or if we feel like whatever we need is coming from something outside of ourselves. Abraham Hicks always talks about this concept that, and I have mixed feelings on Abraham Hicks, but one thing I really like is, that the reason people want something is for the feeling of it. And when you can understand that you can generate some of that feeling from within yourself, that's such a powerful thing, because that is actually how you feel the feeling ahead of time, is because when you realize you have it within yourself, you're not in a lackful state. And so that's what really, really helps you. In my book, I also talk about the idea that God is always sending blessings. The blessings are always coming down unless we block them out. So think of it this way. And I believe it was Gedalia Fenster who I read about in my book, who was talking about this, that saying that, the sun's always coming down, right? There's always beautiful sunshine, but we have our umbrella up, okay? Our umbrella is that resistance. It's all those beliefs of us saying why it can't happen, why it won't happen, or feeling bad about ourselves. That's the umbrella that's being put up. Okay, that's blocking out the sunlight. You can go and visualize all the sunlight that you want, but isn't it more helpful to put that umbrella down? Here's another analogy for my upcoming book, right? Think of a plane trying to land, right? So if you think about a plane that got stuck in turbulence, right? The turbulence is just resistance, but the plane always makes it to its destination, does it not? Right? It has a destination. It's on its way. It's going to somehow find its way to you. But letting the resistance down is like letting the turbulence subside. So I'm sure you're probably asking yourself at this point, how do I do that? How do I do that? You've said, okay, there's resistance. That's what's stopping it. How do I get myself to feel good? And the answer is understanding why you feel bad. And understanding it's like peeling an onion, and there are layers, and you will gradually feel better. Okay? Usually the reason we feel bad is because we're just constantly basking in this state of, I don't have this, I won't have this, there's no way it's going to happen. And if we just stop and listen to our own words, like I highly recommend recording yourself or have your friends or family members just ask you to observe their speech. Ask them to observe your speech, rather. So you can get clued in on like the words that you're using. Like the other day, someone had messaged me and they wouldn't stop saying how life was a struggle and everything was so hard. And I was like, okay, you're banned from the next few days from using any of these type of words, right? Because that was manifesting in her reality. So it's like, be very, very careful of the words that you use. Be careful how you talk about things. You don't have to lie to yourself and say, oh, money's flowing to me in crazy abundance. Just like stop talking about the fact that money's so tight. You can say, you know what, money's been tight, but I know things are getting a lot better and, you know, it's on its way to being better. And I see that I'm already starting to be on the right track to having more financial ease in my life. Or just simply stop talking about the negative, because that fuels it. It keeps it going. Think of it also like a snow globe, right? When you shake up that snow globe, all the little fake snow gets thrown up into the visual area, right? But you can also let it subside. So you don't always have to clear all your negative thoughts, but you do not want to shake them up. And every time we're talking about things, we're reactivating the vibration of all those negative things. Now, what you do want to shake up is the positive things. Good things that happened in your day, nice encounters you had with people, nice conversations. You may have good things that happen in business or at work. Those are things you want to shake up, right? So think about the snow globe analogy, right? So if you want to see all the pretty little snow, talk about the good things. If you want to see ugly snow, talk about the bad things. And so I feel like that gives people a perfect visual, right? To understand that this is really the key, because it's whatever's activated within you is what's going to manifest. You don't have to clear every single negative emotion. Overall, the more negative emotions you clear, the better you'll feel as a person. But if you focus always on clearing negative emotions, you're basically digging yourself into a hole at a certain point. You know what I mean? It's really about navigating to where you want to go, but just understanding that sometimes you're going to have these roadblocks of negative emotion. And so living in the end and feeling positively towards something, as I said, it really comes from just not beating the drum of the negative. And if for some reason you really just cannot do that, explore your emotions. I've dabbled in various like holistic healing modalities. One of the ones that I tried, for example, is called Emotion Code. What Emotion Code is basically this idea of releasing trapped emotions. You use muscle testing to say, like, what do I need to are there any emotions I need to release related to this issue? You muscle test. It'll say yes or no. It'll help you identify what those emotions are. There's a chart. And then you use magnets to remove it. There's a number of emotion code practitioners. So this is something, recently that I've done. You can accomplish the same thing through belief work, and sit with a notebook and ask yourself, I feel like money's not going to come to me because, and don't answer with your conscious mind. Wait for something to come up to you. And sometimes it may seem like really random or really weird. And if it seems like a totally out of place answer, it's probably the right answer, because that means your subconscious mind just shut it right out for you to work through, right? Sometimes we're dealing with stuff that just seems totally illogical, but it's actually really tied to the issue. You can also give yourself the writing prompt, money feels unsafe because, or love feels unsafe because, and see, what comes up. So there's all different prompts that you can do, and you don't have to use just my prompts. Like, you can use your intuition to do that. Like, honestly, there's such a power in just sitting with a notebook and giving yourself the space, and you take a moment to pray ahead of time and say, God, I've noticed I've had this issue around, insert whatever the subject is. I would really like to clear. Can you please give me guidance on what to do, what to write about, what to clear, what questions to ask. Ask simply in a very gentle way. Don't try to push it. Don't do this in a frantic state. Okay? Do it in a place of calmness. You're going to find all of a sudden you have this intuitive impulse to ask yourself a certain question. And once you ask a question, you're going to start getting answers flowing to you. But at least the prompts that I gave you give an idea of saying, this feels unsafe because, or I feel like this isn't going to happen because, and you're able to get an idea of what your blocks are, what your resistant beliefs are, and you can start to work through them. So my point is, some of these things we work through cognitively, right? And there's also things that come from our subconscious mind. So the writing exercises will also help with the subconscious mind. There's also therapy modalities for anyone who's been through trauma. I myself went through a number of traumatic experiences in my life, and I've been able to heal from a lot of them through various therapeutic modalities. There's something called EMDR. There's something called brain spotting that help basically, I'm going to use the word extract things out of them, so the right terminology to use, but extracting the negative emotions out that are trapped in your subconscious mind. Also, just a note, even though it's not directly tied to this, well, I mean, it isn't. It's something I should probably do its own recording on, but I'm a believer that every physical illness is created by trapped emotions in the body. This is also the same premise that emotion code uses. But also I learned this from working with my own therapist, that when the brain gets overwhelmed, overloaded with any sort of emotion, it doesn't know what to do with that energy. So if it can't discharge it, or you can't, like, think about like times like we felt almost like a shock of an emotion, whatever the emotion was, and it felt like more than you could handle at that time, like the body, like the mind will tend to like lodge it in the body. And that's how also like your body becomes prone to like various illnesses. So then like when something else comes around, like somebody have a weakness in their stomach, like, and then they may get like, food poisoning, and that food poisoning may hit it harder than someone who didn't have that energetic weakness in the stomach if they had trapped emotions there, right? So it's just something to be aware of, that there are emotions that can make us also physically ill, which is also really good news, because if someone's dealing with any kind of physical issue, if that's what's trying to manifest as better health, they don't have to worry about, oh my God, what do I do? It's a lot less scary when you said, okay, this is also from trapped emotions, or, the ways I viewed things and whatever else. And honestly, through truly feeling better about subjects, you'd be surprised how much you can release, but not faking it. And like, I cannot stress that enough. If you fake it, you're just lying to yourself. But if you can truly change how you feel about yourself, about the world as a whole, about whoever you interact with, and about, each subject that you're looking to manifest, money, relationships, better health, whatever it may be, that's the key to doing that. And, I've been working on myself for years. I see where I was a year ago versus now, and it's like the transformation is like, whoa, of just what a year does. And there are times where I felt like I've had in a single day that I felt like I had like a huge transformation too. And sometimes that road is really, really messy. And there's different like there's different ways you can go about it, and some things are shorter, some ways are longer, but the whole point like of everything in life is to feel good. And I'm saying that even if like you don't, it's okay. Like I'm not saying like don't beat up on yourself if you don't feel good. But what I'm saying is, why does someone want money? They want money so they can feel a sense of freedom and like that joy of like spending the money whatever they want. If they want to go buy a nice house or go buy a yacht, it's because in thinking about that money, so you can allow yourself to think about, oh my gosh, how nice that would be. But then like as soon as you're done, like, visualizing that, I think, oh, that would be so nice. Don't 2 seconds later say, oh, that's never going to happen to me. You see what I mean? And so like when you go like, oh, it's never going to happen to me, like that's where you invite in that resistance. That's where you see the negative beliefs, because it's like, then you have to ask yourself, like, you say, okay, why is that never going to happen to me? Oh, because I don't have the right kind of job. I don't have the right kind of plan. So this is also, by the way, the other thing is like, you can use logic too. Not everything has to be law of attraction. You know what I mean? Like I went through stuff in my business, and like there was logical stuff that I had to change about my business model. What I did choose to manifest my business is working with the right kind of people. Right? I said, I work in the insurance and financial industry, and I said, I want to find clients that I naturally vibe with. That's who I want to attract towards myself. So I set out that manifestation. But as far as the approach to meeting people, whatever else, I made logical decisions. And so a lot of times when you get to a good vibration, you get to a good energy, you're also inviting in like logical ideas of how to change your life for the better. So like, don't discard them just because it's, oh, that's spiritual if I'm using logic. It's okay to use logic. Logic is also your friend, right? And as I said, the whole point is feeling good. So even if it's a relationship that someone wants, right? They want to manifest, a spouse, their soulmate, or they want to have their existing relationship become better. All they have to do is stop focusing on the things that made them upset. Like, if someone has an issue with their spouse, for example, oh, they never take out the trash. Oh, they're always letting me down. Oh, they're always doing this. They're always doing that. I'm like, if you literally like focus on their good points, I'm not saying that to be cheesy, but literally it makes a difference, because whatever you put your energy on, you're attracting more of constantly. And literally it's literally a matter of retraining ourselves. So I don't want people to say like, oh, I have all these trapped emotions and all these trapped beliefs, and that's why I'm not manifesting money in these relationships. Like, it could be, but you'd be surprised. You would be surprised what a person can do just by really consciously watching their thoughts and saying, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't be thinking all those like negative thoughts about that person. It's only if you get really stuck in a loop, if you deal with what's known as like mental hijacking, where literally like no matter what, like you cannot direct your thoughts the way you want to. Like then I'm going to tell people like start looking to maybe potentially some energy modalities and things like that. Or, if someone has a physical issue, they want to work through whatever else, the energy modalities can come in handy. But a lot of it you really can accomplish just by focusing on your thoughts. Honestly, that's it. Like, it's that simple. It's really that simple. So I hope that was helpful. And, if you're looking for more guidance, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Miriam Wartell Official. Or you can search my book on Amazon, Lessons in Law of Attraction. If you want to just plug in my last name, it's an easy way to find it. It's spelled Wartell. And my first name is spelled Miriam, Miriam. So, that's an easy way to find my book, or easy way to find me also on Instagram. So I try to help people when they message me when I have time. I'm trying to help people if they message me when I have time. And hopefully this was helpful. Would love to hear your feedback.